Welcome to my part 2 video on comparing and ordering scientific notation. So yesterday we looked at comparing scientific notation. Now we're going to use our strategy for comparing to help us order. So turn your notes to just below where we compared scientific notation and find where it says ordering numbers in scientific notation. It says, what do you notice about the following set of numbers? So look at these numbers, and you should notice something. And of course, you notice they all have the same exponent. So remember yesterday we said if they all have the same exponent, we can just look at the coefficient or the root number. So we're going to line these up, and I'm just going to do it off to the right here. So we have 6, 2300, 6, and 3/10. I'm going to drop in a 0, 6, and 300, and 6, and 2/10, drop a 0. So now I can look, I'm going to compare left to right. I notice all the numbers in the ones place are the same. So now I can look at the tenths, and I notice we have a 0 here. So this is the smallest. And then next, we have a 2 here and a 2 here, which is smaller than 3. So we're going to look at 6 and 20 hundredths or 6 and 23. Hopefully you were thinking 6 and 20 hundredths. And now 6 and 23 hundredths would be third, and 6 30 hundredths would be fourth. So now when I order them, I'm going to use the original, and I'm going to write it out completely. So we're going to start with my number 1, which is this one. So 6 and 3 hundredths times 10 to the negative fifth. Then we have 6 and 2/10 times 10 to the negative fifth. We have 6 and 23 hundredths times 10 to the negative fifth, and then last 6 and 3/10 times 10 to the negative fifth. If you need more time to write that down, just go ahead and pause the video. Okay, welcome back. What do you notice about the following set of numbers? So look at this set. And hopefully you notice they all have different exponents. They all have different exponents. So if they all have different exponents, then we can just look at the exponent to order them. So we have 5, -6, -5, and 6. Which is the smallest? Correct, -6. Then the next smallest would be the other negative, which is -5. And what's smaller, 5 or 6? Good, 5. And then this one would go last. So now I'm going to write them in the correct order. So 4 and 273 thousandths times 10 to the negative 6. And then we have 4 and 5/10 times 10 to the negative fifth. 4 and 75 hundredths times 10 to the fifth. And 4 and 75 hundredths times 10 to the sixth. Okay, so turn the page, and now we're going to practice some on your own. And if you'd like to pause the video, if you think you understand this, go ahead and pause the video and turn it back on to check to see how you did. Okay, welcome back if you paused the video. And I'm going to go through these. And if you paused the video and already did these, then you can kind of fast forward to see how the answers wind up. So I notice all the exponents are the same here. They're all 8. So I'm going to line those up over here. So 1 and 2/10, 1 and 19 hundredths, drop a 0 here, 1 and 12 hundredths, and 1 and 1/10, drop a 0. So which one is the smallest? Remember, I'm comparing left to right, all the same. Oh, 3 of these are the same, so I look at this, and I notice this is the smallest. And then 1 in 1200ths, 1 in 1900ths, and last 1 in 2000ths. So now I'm going to write the correct order here. So 1 in 1/10 times 10 to the 8th, 1 in 1200ths times 10 to the 8th, 1 in 1900ths times 10 to the 8th, and last 1 in 2/10 times 10 to the 8th. Okay, let's look at the next example. And hopefully you notice once again, all the exponents are the same. So what am I going to do? Line them up. So 6 and 8/10, 6 and 900ths, drop a 0, 6 and 7800ths, and 6 and 9/10. Okay, we're going least to greatest again. So look left to right, all 6s. 0 is the smallest in the tens place, so that's going to be my number 1. Look in the tens place again. 7 is my next smallest, followed by 8, and then 9. So now I'm going to write the correct order. 6 and 900ths times 10 to the negative 5th. 6 and 7800ths times 10 to the negative 5th. 6 and 8/10 times 10 to the negative 5th. And last 6 and 9/10 times 10 to the negative 5th. Now I can also order these vertically as well. I don't always have to go horizontal like I am, and I'll show you on the next one how to stack them up vertically and order them. Okay, let's look at the next example. Now in the next example, you'll notice all the exponents are different. So I can just look at the exponent. We have 12, 11, 10, 13. So least to greatest, 10 is the smallest, followed by 11, then 12, and then 13. So I told you I was going to order this vertically so you can see how that looks. So I'm going to go 5.7 times 10 to the 10th. Then I'm going to 9.6 times 10 to the 11th. And then 3 and 7600ths times 10 to the 12th. And last but not least, 1 and 7/10 times 10 to the 13th. Oops. Okay. And that's just how you order them vertically. Okay, this last example is greatest to least. So if you look at the exponents, they're mostly different. And these two have the same exponent. And of course, these two happen to be the smallest. So I'm going to stack those two up. And I only need to stack them when they have the same exponent. So if you look at these, 3 and 200ths is clearly smaller than 4 and 8000ths. So I'm going to put a 1 by this one, making this, oops, I'm sorry, scratch that. We're going greatest to least. So hopefully you were thinking that when I was going through this, greatest to least. So if we're looking for the greatest, this is 10 to the 4th, this is the greatest, so this gets the number 1. I apologize for that. And next greater, we're looking at -5 or -6. -5 is actually greater than -6. Now, hopefully you didn't erase this over here. So we have 3 and 200ths and 4 and 8/10. And since we're going greatest to least, this one has to come next because 4 and 8000ths is greater than 3 and 200ths. So we're going to put a 3 here and a 4 here. I'm just going to go ahead and stack them again. So greatest to least, 2.8 times 10 to the 4th. 9 and 8/10 times 10 to the -5th. 4 and 8/10 times 10 to the negative 6, and 3 and 200 times 10 to the 6. So remember, whenever you're comparing or ordering, look at the exponent first. Okay, if they have different exponents, you can just compare them and order them that way. If they have the same exponent, then you have to stack them up like we did over here. That concludes our part 2 video on ordering scientific notation. I hope you have a great day.